Go baby, what's good guys? Yoku here, and I just finished putting together the video that you guys probably already watched, which is basically everything you need to do to prepare for Kafka. And right now, I really want to talk and just talk about Kafka as a whole and how that's going to impact not only the meta, but specifically for free to play. So I'm going to have my own video where I go over the meta. That'll probably be after she comes out though, or maybe before. I don't know. I'm going to Evo this weekend, so it depends on how much time I have before and after I get back. But as of right now, I really want to go over the fact that like Kafka coming into free to play or coming into the game, as most of you, I've seen a lot of comments about free to play and you're saving up all your stuff for the character. I want to go ahead and let you guys know that this is probably going to be a lot harder than some of you think. Now, most of you are under the impression that Kafka is going to be the new Lightning DPS character, the best Lightning DPS character, and she will touch the scene and then boom, body everything. And there needs to be some precautions that we take into play about what we have so far in the game. Right now, I can look at 3 different characters, one of which isn't really a Lightning DPS, but I'm going to include her anyway. Jingyuin, Serval, and Arlen. Now, if we look at Arlen first, Arlen is a character that is typically a Lightning DPS character, but requires a high investment to get the most out of what this character offers. That being traces being higher than 7, 8, 10, 10, whatever the case may be. You're going to want to max out as much as you can for all of this stuff. Typically, it's really just the attack and HP percent boost, and then stack him up with as much crit damage and crit rate as possible. Mine does not have this because I'm using different relics to as placeholders, but I just want you guys to know that with a character like Arlen, you're looking for a lot of attack investment, some speed, a lot of crit damage, and then your crit rate to match whatever it is that you're looking for. On top of that, you want the light cone to be something very strong, right? Arlen's secret vow is great, especially if you can superimpose it, but he's a destruction class character and not nihility. If we're looking at my bad, not nihility, erudition. If we're looking at erudition next, which is typically going to be your main type of damage dealing here for the DPS characters, a lot of you just don't want to build Arlen, I understand. Jingyuin is the most invested character, at least in my roster, and what I would consider in the game. I think Jingyuin is one of the most highly invested characters that needs to happen in the game. These are not my stats. I don't want anyone flaming me because I know you guys are gonna, oh man, his crit damage is ass. That's why his Jingyuin does no damage. Look, bro, I don't even have his light cone on him right now. Like I'm not using my Jingyuin, okay? Don't come at me cross. But point being is that very similar situation, you're gonna want to have a high attack investment. You're gonna want some speed. I've been seeing a lot of players aiming for the 145 range lately so that they can get somewhere to like 150 or 160. Y'all are crazy, but it is what it is. You're gonna want crit rate and then a high amount of crit damage. You're going to want energy recharge on this character. You definitely want some effect resistance because of what this character does. And like, oh, he's going to get CC'd, so he doesn't have anything going for him. And of course, you're going to want that lightning damage boost however you can get it. With Jingyuin being the ideal lightning character that a lot of people use as their main DPS character, there was something that I mentioned with my own videos pertaining to Jingyuin that was very important. His light cone. Is his light cone mandatory? I did the same thing with Blade. I did the same thing with Zila. Not so much Locha or Silverwolf. I guess I did it with Silverwolf too, but point being is that right now we can take everything that I've told you guys and everything that you've probably heard about these characters and then throw it all into Kafka. Will Kafka be a lightning DPS character or another lightning character that is also going to require just as high investment as the rest of the lightning characters we have so far? Will she require for her own signature light cone, just like technically Arlen would love his signature light cone? He doesn't require it, but it's definitely way better. Serval, we're not going to talk about her light cone, okay? But Serval requires some decent amount of investment. It's not that she requires as much investment as a character like Jingyuin, but she is going to require some investment. If you want to go for a more damaging route, you're definitely going to want that crit rate to be high, 50%, and then crit damage, just like Jingyuin, high, as close as 200% that you can get. You're going to want her speed to be just as quick, right? The 134 to 148 range, something like that. And you're going to want her attack to be pretty high, somewhere above the 3K range. She is just as high as Jingyuin, the difference being that she's a 4-star character. It's a little bit easier to build her, and I've seen a lot of people who actually just pulled Jingyuin's light cone or Serval. I don't know if that was the wisest thing to do, but I'm not here to judge. You can also get multiple copies of Serval, or at least you could, in order to try and max her out depending on which banner you were pulling for. And I know that Kafka's banner getting ready to come up here, you will absolutely be able to get an E6 or at least an E4 Serval here. And this is going to be pretty big, not only for your Kafka team if you plan on doing that, but Serval as a character. So taking everything that I said into account with these characters, when we're looking at Kafka, Who does Kafka require? What does Kafka require in order for these things to be achieved? How easily attainable is this information that I'm about to give to you guys to free-to-play players? And I specifically say this for free-to-play players. Most free-to-play players have not been using their Trailblazer power. Let me go to mine here. You guys have not been refreshing. Most of you, I don't say all, but I say most. Most of you have, like, it's always going to say consume 50. You have 8 exchanges remaining, right? Most of you save your gems for the pools because those are more valuable to you, which is totally fine. There are a lot of things that you have to do here, and your time is a little bit more limited, a lot more limited actually, or in comparison to some other players who might be spending their Trailblazer power on the character, on the refreshes, on getting her simulated universe stuff, whatever the case may be, just pre-farming as a whole. So you would have had to prep for this character for at least 16 days to get everything that you would need for this character. It's about 2 to 3 weeks worth of only grinding for Kafka, and that's just Kafka. Why do I say just Kafka? Why am I emphasizing that? Because Kafka, from what we can tell so far, being a damage over time character, if we take into consideration how DOT works in this game and how weak it is right now, if Kafka is supposed to be the queen of DOT, the enabler of DOT, that means that you're going to need some other character to help establish the DOT, because Kafka by herself, in theory, would not be able to do this alone. Now, obviously, things can change once the game comes out. I'm not entirely too sure if Kafka is going to be a solo enabler for herself and she's a self-enabled character, right? A self-sustaining DPS character. I'm not too sure. But as of right now, a lot of the presumptions or the pretense for this character or the team in general is to have multiple DOT characters. Serval, Himiko, you have where we at? Hook is an option for something like this. Technically Sushan with Bleed. I'm not gonna throw her in there like that, but I'm just giving you the option. Sampo, and the new character Luka, I believe is how you pronounce his name. Luka is also gonna be coming to the game. So what do I need, right? I'm gonna need Kafka. Boom, there's Kafka. Let's just say the genuine is Kafka. I now have Kafka. Am I gonna need Kafka's light cone? Well, I'll have a whole video on this because I'm not entirely too sure just yet. I'm still doing some testing and some theory crafting on that, but let's just say hypothetically she follows the trend, okay? She follows the trend of the lightning character so far, the erudition character so far, and she'll need her light cone. Now granted, Nihility has some bomb ass light cone. I'm gonna tell you guys right now, her being Nihility is a lifesaver. Her being able to use all these Nihility light cones is amazing. Some of these like Silver Wolves won't matter, right? The effect hit rate going up by 40%. That's really all she's gonna need, in my opinion. But you also have your light cones like Good Night Sleep Well. You have Fermata, I believe is how you pronounce that. And even Sampo's light cone could probably be something that you look into using. So Nihility has some great options for Kafka that are free to play, but of course not as many as the Hunt or Destruction could possibly use in order to get the most damage output that they want. So for the sake of the argument, let's say that Kafka maybe doesn't need her light cone, but she needs some other light cone that is not specifically free to play, right? You can't go in the shop and pull out this light cone, hypothetically. Let's just say that. So it's chance. Traces, genuine traces need to be 777 or higher, or in this case 888 or higher. I really believe that genuine needs traces as close to max as possible. Let's say that Kafka also needs her traces close to max as possible. Let's say that she also needs all of her bonus abilities, right? If she's going to have attack percent or effect rate, hit rate, whatever the case may be, all of this stuff depends on the character as a whole, but these are things to take into consideration. Her relics, lightning, this is something that you guys are going to have to farm. If you didn't pull Jingyuin, you skipped him, you probably don't have anything for this character, which means you need to farm the character materials for her to ascend. You need to farm enough for her traces, you need to farm enough for the light cone, and you need to come back and farm enough for her for these here. Oh, well, she wants attack percent, or she wants break effects, she wants this, that, and the third. Doesn't matter what she wants. You need to come and farm good pieces for that. And as we know, you either get really lucky or you don't get lucky, and there's no in between. I don't want to talk about Eidolons because that's definitely not free to play, but I do think it's worth considering until I'm aware of what her Eidolons are. I do think it's worth considering whether or not E1 or E2 is mandatory, or if E0 is perfectly fine, because I've heard some things. I've heard people having some dreams about this character, and so everything's all up in the air right now. Most importantly, outside of everything that I just mentioned, for just the character alone, you still need to come and build some other character. It's not like, oh, I already have with my blade, right? I already have Bronya, I already spent the month building Locha and I had Silverwolf, or I had Bailu instead of Locha already. I had Yukong instead of Bronya, and I had Pela. Or I got Japard as my first character. I already have these characters built up, and then I just pulled Blade and I fit them right in. That's not what's happening here. Most of you do not have DOT characters built because there was never a reason to build DOT characters. At most, someone would have Serval built or Himiko built. And Himiko is definitely another high investment character, but that's because erudition. Serval being another high investment character, if you have her built, maybe you have some good relics for the lightning pieces, like I mentioned earlier. But for my main choices that would be in your account right now, I'll use 4. Ideally, Serval, Himiko, which again is a 5-star character, you may or may not have her, I'm just mentioning her, Hook, and Sampo. But the one I really want to focus on is Sampo. Most free-to-play players do not have a Sampo built up. Why? Because you had no reason to use Sampo. Don Hung was there, you got him first, and Sampo is not someone that's given to you. You either have this character or you don't. Eidolons become a factor for a character like this. And yeah, you could pull these Eidolons on Kafka's banner. That's totally awesome. It's fine. That has very little to do with what you have accessible right now. So not only would you need to build and prepare for Kafka, but in the event you don't have these DOT characters built up, or let's say you're going for Luka, you have to build up Luka. You need to build into their essential materials. Go ahead and get all these books. That's at least 300 to 500 books, purple books, that you're going to need to level these characters up. You're going to need all of these materials in order to get him to whatever he needs to, right? These wind pieces, the storm eye. If I'm building up my Sampo, I'm going to need about 35 of these, or actually I need more than 35. It's like 60 or something like that, 65 of these in order to build up my Sampo from level 1 to level 80. I'm going to need a completely different relic set. I don't even have this relic set because I had no reason to farm this. Where is it at? The Eagle of Twilight line. I have 0 pieces of this set because I just didn't need it, right? Like, I don't need Eagle of Twilight. So you see that I have nothing here. I can't even give my Sampo anything if I wanted to. I would have to give him Musketeer. And sure, you could use Musketeer. There's nothing specifically wrong with Musketeer. But if that's not the set, or you just don't have anything for that, then it is what it is. Point being is that if it takes you about 16 days, so roughly 2 weeks, just to grind for Kafka on a, I'm not spending my jewels, I'm not spending my Trailblazer power to refresh level, it's another 2 weeks for Sampo, which means you needed to have been building Sampo since Blade got announced. Right after Loach's banner or during Loach's banner, you needed to have been working on these 2 characters. Lastly, we get into the actual concept of DOT and how this is going to operate in the game. How free-to-play friendly is this playstyle? We've been treating MOC as a blitz, right? First, we started with just survive. We were in the survive meta using double sustain, whatever we could do to make sure that we didn't die in the game. And right now we're at a mix of that, where we're looking to basically take out the enemy as quickly as possible. Of course, MOC is going to change here just before we actually do get Kafka's banner. So I assume more lightning or DOT is probably going to be the new turbulence that we'll have here. But as of right now, I have my wind and I have the quantum weak enemies that are in the game to favor Zila and Silver Wolf, or Blade and Silver Wolf, anything like that. So when I'm using DOT, I don't get to play fast. You can, I'm assuming you could play fast if you wanted to, because maybe there's something in the game, I don't know. But the concept of damage over time, it's a concept. If you follow the concept over time, you need time, right? Like you're not gonna do a DOT instantly. It doesn't, oh yeah, I did 10 turns of DOT in one action. Like the concept doesn't work like that. So again, once the character is out, things may change. I don't know how she'll work based off of any leaks, because I don't look at those. It really comes down to how this character is gonna perform. But as of right now, using that concept of damage over time, you have to play a completely different playstyle than what you've currently been playing. So I'm not making this video to say, oh, Kafka is not free to play. Well, actually, I am saying that Kafka is not free to play friendly, but I'm not saying this in like is a Debbie Downer, right? Oh man, this is the worst character in the game and no one should pull if you're free to play. Only whales get this character. No. I just want more people, more free to play players to be more aware, because a lot of people in my community have been asking me my opinions about Kafka, how I feel like she's going to shape the meta, if she's going to be free to play friendly, and if I think she is going to be a little bit more worth it than getting Blade, because they're making last minute decisions. If you feel like you want to make or play a style of gameplay that is a little bit slower, possibly DOT might be for you. If you have characters that are built up and you want to just jump right in, you can immediately see the benefits or the rewards of playing and picking up Kafka. But if you don't, and you need to build up Sampo like myself, who's at level 1, then you really aren't going to be utilizing this DOT team as quickly as you can pull a Kafka. And that's all that is. But that's going to be it for me. Like I said, I'm out of here at Evo by the time you guys are watching this. So let me know in the comments down below what you want to see next week. And if you see me at Evo, say hi or anything like that. But regardless, let me know how you feel about Kafka. If you're still down for a Dami Mami Kafka, I know I am. And let me know how you feel about DOT, what you're thinking. Maybe you guys are thinking of some new team comps. Maybe you're thinking of like a slow Kafka with like no speed boots. Let me know all these different thoughts and opinions about what you plan on doing with your account, with your character, because I would love to see it and talk about it. And then we can catch up when I come back from Evo and I'll pop a stream. I can't say my usual outro because it's inappropriate for YouTube. Smell you later.